in automorphisms is that they can the evolution is an example of an automorphism.
But
So now if you
next point is that it is in a look that we use that in quantum mechanics every day.
yes no yeah exactly but I
So
mean,
what's the problem?
if you are
That's only one, that's an invertible element, but where is it?
if there's no invertible
It's not in that algebra.
So what you say
If there's not
is
invertible-
So what do you do when you
the
do
limit
that?
of automorphism
I mean,
is an output.
but this is not a UR.
Not necessarily
This
a
is
not a
automorphism,
symmetry.
for
Well, this is
instance.
something you do with the phenomenon.
So it's not a cover-up
It's not
thing, but it is
No.
just
Any further?
a
It's not a
perfect
life
state,
cycle.
a mathematical state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
This is something you do in phenomena. You have to take some self-adjoint operator H,
Yeah.
and then you make a unitary e to the I.
So what you're saying is it's not the Ryle algebra but the von Neumann algebra.
Yes, probably.
But a von Neumann algebra.
Yes, probably. Yeah. Of course, phenomena algebra should somehow be the observable algebra of your physical system. Okay, you want a very basic notion of process going on, so you probably have a lot of choice.
Yeah, for me it doesn't matter whether it's a Ryle algebra or von Neumann algebra. I mean, if it's ruled out in the Ryle
Well,
algebra.
unitary phenomena at least has a unit, so you know what you do here, and you can start from a self-adjoint operator and then make a unitary from it by taking e to the I.
But you can look at an embedding in a bigger algebra and look at the automorphisms, inner automorphisms of the bigger algebra that keep the smaller algebra invariant. And that kind of thing happens.
Okay, okay.
But that wouldn't that in fact be
That would
very much in your, well, not only would it not worry, it would actually be rather
Embedded in something
wrong,
bigger than
but it
that.
gives you a way of
Yeah.
thinking precisely. And the,
No, but I mean,
Yes, right.
yeah, but the thing is that then you would have to go something outside of the algebra to generate the dynamics inside your algebra. Is it not exactly what you do not want?
why does he not want that?
Well, I've already-
Because you want to have the algebra to be somehow everything.
Well, that's, I thought that was precisely the whole point about this approach.
Yeah,
That the algebraic operations themselves are, in some sense, capturing the inherent notion of process, which is supposed to be the primordial.
But then I mean, you would have to sort of out the algebra to the one. You would have to tail algebra.
Well, don't worry about that. I mean, in fact, no, in fact, when, you know, with the approach to the GMS construction that Ernst was talking about, we double the algebra. We go to bi-algebras. As long as it's algebraic.
Yes, that's the essential shift, as I
So
understand.
I've got a conceptual question here because you had a hard time to stress what the process is, but implicitly the way you structure things here, you put a lot in there.
Absolutely.
And it's not, it's for me it's not clear what composition means between two observables. It doesn't mean anything for me because if I take two self-adjoint operators and I compose them, it's not even self-adjoint. So what does it mean?
Now, wait a minute, now you've suddenly put in self-adjoint. We never put in
No,
self-adjoint.
no, but I mean like the composition of two observables. What does it mean conceptually? Composing two observables. Because you've got, like if you want to make a mathematical theory about some physical primitive concept, then you would like that any element of your mathematical theory has a conceptual counterpart. So what is the composition in there? Conceptually, what does it mean? But this is a problem for me, this is a problem with any sort of algebraic approach to quantum mechanics. Any. What's the composition when you're talking of anything? You would like the composition of two measurements to be?
No, I don't want to talk about measurements. I just want to talk about.
No, but I know, but you're also like the composition of processes to be
Yeah, to be meaningful.
to be meaningful. It's got to be. It's got to be a more enveloping or a more encompassing, whatever language you use, process. But this is the difficulty of trying to.
But there is structure. What is the structure?
I think it comes out clearer in the orthogonal Clifford algebra, where
This is why I kept hammering you on it.
which I set up by using these pairs of objects, which I didn't get to. That's the next lecture. Where you actually you form a groupoid, and from the groupoid that gives you a way of combining the different elements and giving them meaning.
That's what I mean. The
Yeah.
structure should give you the semantics of
What
actually that process is.
Yeah, if you do the orthogonal, you actually see what it means to combine these things. Okay, I haven't done it properly with this one yet because I've only just realised how to do it. But I'm going to try and do it on this file algebra to answer your question.
Well, it would certainly be very important to see that.
Yeah.
Because I think the issue Bob's raised is absolutely right. There's got to be some conceptual counterpart of the notional composition of file algebra in this.
Okay. Biology.
Okay. Pictures.
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay.
I won't keep you
I'm
for
just
2
going to
minutes.
walk.
There is, so this is the Drosophila embryo again, here, now looked at slightly differently. So we saw those stripes. This is around the same stage where you're actually just looking at the distribution of one particular protein in the embryo. The challenge that the embryo is faced with at this very early stage is basically segmenting the body into very gross segmentation into the different segments of the insect body. And so what it's having to do is actually define its own internal space, because it needs to know where's 40% along here, where's 60% along here. And that's not in terms of any fixed distance, because you get large natural variability in the sizes of the actual egg at these stages. So it can't use simple physical processes like diffusion to set a distance, because that will not adapt to the different size. It needs to have some mechanism of saying where 40% is, where 60% is, and things like that. And that's exactly what it does. So if you quantify the distribution of this is a protein called bicoid, which is the source is localized at this end of the egg by the mother, and it then diffuses in the egg and gives you a nice gradient that you can see here with the fluorescence intensity of this visualization tool. And if you actually quantify it, it does actually fit just a straight exponential diffusion gradient that you'd expect from solving the diffusion equation. And what the conventional, so there's actually, I've introduced this thing in biology called relativistic positional information, which biologists who I talk to absolutely hate this idea, because there's the kind of, there's the same problem in biology that we could say we have in physics with dogma and entrenched views about things. But there's this idea of something called positional information. So exactly what I'm saying. Cells within a developing embryo need to know where they are relative to the whole embryo. They need information about their position. And the conventional view of positional information is that you have a boundary somewhere. So here it's this pole of the egg, of the developing embryo. And that relative to that, some simple mechanism like diffusion sets up a coordinate system. And that cells then detect their position in this coordinate system. So again, you have this separation into a space-time background, as it were, or a spatial background, and the things that are responding to it or interacting on it. And what actually happens in reality, so if we look at data, this is now each of the different coloured lines here, so this is the same as this. Look, this is just one embryo, looking at the diffusion gradient of bicoid. If we look now as a fraction of egg length between 0 and 1, and as I say, there's substantial variability of the egg length in natural populations, then you get substantial variability in that gradient because of the changes in egg length. The diffusion wavelength is the same, pretty much. That's quite well conserved. But because of the differences in egg length, there's a substantial variability in the actual form of the gradients. So this is what's supposed to be setting up spacing there, and it doesn't. And this is the immediate output from that spatial input, which is now a different protein called hunchback. And what's really important is that this very sharp gradient in hunchback occurs exactly here at 50% egg length and splits the embryo into two. And you can see that the precision of this is much, much greater than the precision of this. And what the current problem is, here's the actual, so if you look at the correlation coefficient between the actual egg length in real space and the position of this boundary, you get very, very good correlation. And this is in the particular case of this Drosophila embryo where you don't have any cell membranes, so things